Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Charles, and you're watching Save Our Children TV. Back at it for a brand new video. Now, before we get into today's story series, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn post notifications on so you'll be notified every single time I drop a video on this channel Monday and Thursdays. So, let's get straight into our videos. First one's going to take us to Haverford West, Pembrokeshire, and Southwest Wales. So they take an L. Mother's boyfriend killed toddler and blamed injuries on dog. Court told. So a 2-year-old girl was killed in a frenzied and extremely violent attack by her mother's boyfriend, who claimed her injuries were caused by the family dog, the court has heard. Lola James died on July 21st, 2020, of catastrophic head trauma, having suffered 101 external injuries and extensive damage to both her eyes. Kyle Bevan, 31, from Queens Road, Aberystwyth, denies murdering the child 4 months after moving into the family home in Haverford West, Pembrokeshire, Southwest Wales. He is now standing trial. He is now standing trial at Swansea Crown Court along with Lola's mother, Sunny James, 30, who is charged with causing or allowing her death. It should be murder. Opening the case, Caroline Reese Casey said Bevan, who is an amphetamine user and prone to violent outbursts, subjected the little girl to a brutal assault while he was alone with her between the evening of July 16th and the morning of July 17th. Ms. Reese told the court that Bevan claims Lola's injuries were caused by her being pushed down the stairs by the family dog, which the prosecution said is a deliberate lie to cover up its guilt. Jurors were shown photographs that Bevan took of Lola's injuries and a video he shot showing her unconscious, badly injured, and unable to stand. They were also shown a number of internet searches he made for information about baby suffering, head impact, and loss of consciousness. Phone records show that around 6:30 a.m., Bevan's Googled my 2-year-old child has just been taking a bang to the head and gone all limp and snoring. What's wrong? Ms. Reese said that despite this being an indication that the fatal injuries had already been caused, Bevan waited another hour before calling for an ambulance at around 7:30 a.m. When paramedics arrived at the home, not only did they find Ola laying unconscious with a swollen and bruised face, but she also appeared to be wet, Ms. Reese said. The prosecutor said it was believed that Lola had been scrubbed clean even of the children's transfer tattoos, which she appeared to have had on her arm the day before the attack. Investigators also noted that the bath was spotlessly clean, despite the rest of the house being generally dirty. A vomit and blood-stained gray onesie was also found in the corner of the living room. Ms. Reese went on, we said that the injuries noted to Lola, including those which caused her premature death, were the result of a brutal and extremely violent physical assault upon her by Kyle Bevan while they were alone together. He said that rather than face up to that, what she did to the little girl, Kyle Bevan immediately tried to save himself. Rather than immediately call the emergency services, as surely would be natural had this been an accident, as he now says he took time to concoct excuses and lies. He tried, the prosecution said, to take a coward escape by trying to place false blame upon the family dog, suggesting that Lola must have fallen down the stairs. It is the prosecution case that the injuries sustained by Lola are wholly inconsistent with an accidental injury and show instead that she was the victim of what must have been a frenzied, brutal, and violent attack at the hands of somebody she had been able to trust. She said Bevan tried to cover his tracks even as far as cleaning the bath we say we say he put Lola in, perhaps to revive her after his attack, or alternatively to clean her of blood and vomit. James claimed she was asleep when her daughter injuries were caused, which is accepted by the prosecution, Miss Reese said. Both the prosecution said James should have been aware of the threat Bevan posed to Lola due to previous violent incidents against her. We do say that she was, or at least should have been, well aware of the risk of violence which Kyle Bevan posed to her child, but she did nothing to protect Lola from the danger which she presented, instead choosing to otherwise to prioritize her relationship with him over her own daughter, physical safety, Miss Miss Reed said. She said that the basis for the belief was that James knew Lola had sustained injuries while in Kyle Bevan's care in the past, and she knew that he had a nasty and violent temper, particularly when under the influence of drugs. Experts are protected to be called by the prosecution during the trial to testify that those injuries show she was a victim of abusive trauma and a deliberate physical assault. Lola was 2 years old and 9 months old at the time of her death, 4 days later, at Nels Ark Children's Hospital in Cardiff. Those who know Lola during her short life are said to have described her as a happy, beautiful, and busy little girl. Her life had really started. Miss V said. The trial continues. Here's the news video.
Was described by her grandmother as a character who loved life. Her father said she was always smiling and happy, a little ray of sunshine, with a laugh which would fill the room with pure joy. Her photograph reminds us of a beautiful little girl. But you, Carl Bevan, murdered her when she was only 2 years old, and you, Sinead James, allowed her death. Her death has shattered a family, including the childhood of her
Here
surviving
is
sisters. No
the
one
victim.
who listened to the victim personal statements in court today could fail to be profoundly moved by them.
So I'm trying to find a news video for it. Called
Lola was a very young child, 2 years and 10 months old. She was particularly vulnerable, not being strong enough to resist or old enough to tell anyone what was happening. Kyle Bevan was in a position of trust, having assumed the role, as he described himself to the ambulance crew, of Lola's stepfather. He started to hurt Lola at midnight, and he carried on until she was unconscious at 6:30 a.m. He did not stop when Sinead James nearly caught him in the act when she heard Lola scream at midnight. This was a sustained, deliberate, and
so the mother and her monster partner, which is so mom's boyfriend was given a life sentence um, with the minimum term of 28 years. So you got 28 years life. And she was only sentenced. The mother was only sentenced to 6 years in prison. In my opinion, I think she should have got more than 6 years because she knew what type of person this man was. Yet again, she allowed him to be around a child, knowing that he is a violent individual. So you care more about him than your own child. Why? which should have automatically gave you a sentence. At least she should have got, in my opinion, should have been 25 years to life, um, or close to what he got, because she knew he was dangerous. She still allowed him to be around this child, and if roles were reversed, the man would have got more time than the female would. So I think that she should have got more time in prison than 6 years. Um, Jack could have did better than that. She failed her child, and yeah, we went from a slap on the wrist, you know. So in America, she would have got more than 6 years. Um, but because the country, she got 6 years prison. Um, and in my opinion, she should have got more than 6 years. So condolences to baby Lola, and we're glad justice has been served. Let's move to our second story. Facts 13. So Florida is going to take an L on this story. Lakeland, Florida, to be exact. Man is accused of shooting a Lakeland toddler to death. Also killed his accomplice. Documents stated. Kavaris Green, 30 years old. And this is him right here, the individual speaking about. Kavaris Green, 30, made his first appearance in Polk County Court Thursday afternoon. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of shooting into a vehicle, and 1 count of attempted murder. The shooting happened around 6:30 p.m. last week at the Cambridge Cove apartment complex in Lakeland. Police said Jaquez J.D. Norton, 3, and his family were visiting a friend at the complex, and when they were leaving, a white Dodge Challenger blocked their Toyota RAV4 head-on. 2 men, Green and Kamaris Wilson, 22, allegedly got out of the Challenger and walked up to either side of the RAV4. Police said Green fired the RAV4 multiple times into the RAV4, occupied by Norton, his mother, and a male friend named Robert Ingzig, who was shot in the leg. And this is the victim who was killed by the hands of monsters. We had an ongoing gun battle. Not only are rounds being put into the front of the RAV, but rounds coming from inside the RAV fired back at them, said Chief Taylor. Police say Izig had a handgun and fired back at the suspects. However, documents reveal Green was the one who ended up shooting and killing Wilson, his accomplice, even though he didn't intend to. A big question remains: what was the motive for the daily shooting? Police are still looking for the third accomplice, Demarius Wilson, who they say drove the Dodge Challenger. Green's next court date will be on April 16. So he killed a 3-year-old boy and his accomplice. So he killed 2 people and a 3-year-old boy. So let's go to the news video.
Right now, Lakeland police have identified. Right now, Lakeland police have identified the 2 people that they believe shot and killed a 3-year-old earlier this week. Right now, Lakeland police are looking for 30-year-old Kavarius Green and 22-year-old Demarius Wilson. Investigators believe they are responsible for the shooting death of a 3-year-old. We're talking about Jaquez Norton, and this happened on Monday. 8 on your sides, Chloe Sparks joins us live in Lakeland. And Chloe, officers say that these 2 could be anywhere from here to Orlando.
That's right. And there is a $5,000 reward for anyone that has information that can help lead police to these suspects. Lakeland police want you to keep an extra eye out for 30-year-old Kavarius Green and 22-year-old Demarius Wilson. They are both suspects in the triple shooting at the Cambridge Cove Apartments on Monday night.
We do not know where they are right now. We have some good ideas and some areas that we would be interested in looking.
Lakeland police highlighted Lakeland, Plant City, and Orlando as possible places the suspects could be.
They have gone into the wind, so to speak.
Kavarius Green is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. 1 count for his friend, who was also a suspect. He got caught in the crossfire of the shooting. And another for a 3-year-old boy who was in the car under attack. This witness rushed to help the little boy.
He had a big laceration on the head where if the bullet had gone maybe half inch, he probably would have made it.
The child's name was Jaquez Norton, and his family wants answers.
Help us find this guy because he deserved the worst. He deserved the worst. It was a 3-year-old baby.
Police believe Demarius Wilson was driving the getaway car, a white Dodge Challenger. They're unsure what led up to this incident, but surely finding the suspects will help them figure it out. Police tell us the 3rd person who was injured during Monday night's shooting is expected to be okay, and they are not a suspect in this case. If you need another look at the picture of the 2 suspects, we have that on our website, WFLA.com. Reporting live.
I'm Julie Salamone in Lakeland with an update to the deadly shooting that happened on Monday evening that killed a 3-year-old boy. Lakeland police are searching for 2 suspects after a deadly shooting around 6:30 Monday evening at Cambridge Cove Apartments. Detectives say 30-year-old Kavarius Green is wanted on several charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. 22-year-old Demarius Wilson is wanted for tampering with evidence.
Spring break, the kids are out playing. It's an apartment complex. People are coming and going. It's incredibly dangerous what these guys were doing.
Detectives say Green, armed with a rifle, pulled up in a Dodge Challenger at the complex, got out and fired shots into a RAV4 where a mother, her 2 children, and her boyfriend were sitting. 3-year-old Jaquez Norton is shot and killed. The adult passenger in the RAV4 is also shot and still recovering from non-life-threatening injuries at a hospital. Police say Green also hit his accomplice, Demarius Wilson. Police say Green and Wilson took off in the Dodge Challenger, dumping it at a relative's house. Wilson was dropped off at a hospital where he later died. Detectives say Wilson's brother, Demarius Wilson, was in the Challenger before and after the shooting and attempted to hide the vehicle.
Demarius Wilson was seen running from the Challenger after it was hidden between the 2 houses after the shooting as well. Demarius Wilson has been charged with tampering with evidence.
Lakeland police say the men have ties to Lakeland, Plant City, and the Orlando area. They're considered armed and dangerous. Police have still not identified a motive in this shooting. Anyone with any information on the case is asked to contact the Lakeland Police Department or Crime Stoppers. A $5,000 reward is available. Reporting in Lakeland, Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
All right, my closing thoughts. Okay. These individuals, in my opinion, should have been in prison already. Because clearly you can tell that being on the street and causing all this chaos it's not good. And people like that needs to be in prison. And a system is so broken because we're continuously letting dangerous criminals back onto our streets, causing chaos, killing innocent children, and you know, to just go around and just shoot at people for no reason. It's to me it's crazy. And you have to ask yourself, what did this what did this 3-year-old do to deserve to be gunned down the way he was gunned down? And, to be out committing crimes and killing your accomplice tells me you're not a good criminal. So why continue doing what you're doing? And to me, in this case, I will pursue the death penalty because this was called intentional homicide. And you intended to shoot at people in a vehicle and you caused the effect in the cause. You caused the death of another intentional. And in Florida, they have the death penalty. They also have life without parole. But these people need to be off the streets. They're clearly dangerous to society, and if they're willing to kill a child, we make sure they won't come and kill you, anybody close to you. They should have been off the streets a long time ago, in my opinion. They run around committing crimes, and Florida has to do better with dealing with people like that. If you know they're dangerous, you know they're in prison for a long time for serious crimes, they need to be monitored when they be released from prison because they continuously cause havoc on the community, and it's just not right. So continue keeping that family in thoughts and prayers, and may that 3-year-old gets justice. And condolences to everyone involved. And this is a crazy, crazy story. So we're gonna move on to our third story. 6 out of 13. This next story is an updated story. But the story happened out of um, Ohio. I'm on the Washington Post. This is the mother in question. In question, she thought it was more important to go on vacation than to find a suitable babysitter for a child. An Ohio woman whose toddler died after she left her home to go on a 10-day vacation last summer has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Crystal Candelararo, 32, pleaded guilty last month to aggravated murder of her daughter, 16-month-old Jalen. Prosecutors said she left the toddler alone in a playpen in their Cleveland home in June while she traveled to Detroit and Puerto Rico. When she returned from her trip, she found Jalen unresponsive and called police. According to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, she changed her child's clothes before emergency responders arrived and pronounced her dead shortly thereafter. The toddler was extremely dehydrated. At the time of her death, medical examiners determined that she had died of starvation and dehydration. She weighed 13 pounds, about 7 pounds less than what was recorded at her last doctor's visit. About 2 months prior, Elizabeth Moon, Mooney, the deputy Cuyahoga County medical examiner, told the court Monday. County, County Common Police Court Judge, I'll repeat that again. County Common Pleas Court Judge Brandon Sheehan said that Tyler's death wasn't simply an oversight and told Candelaria she had several opportunities to intervene and save her daughter's life. You committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby terrified alone, unprotected, to suffer what I have heard was the most gruesome death imaginable with no food, no water, no protection, he said. He also accused Candelero of having showed no remorse. In court Monday, he compared and Monday, I mean, in court Monday, he compared Candelaro's life sentence to the confinement her daughter must have suffered before her death. The only difference would be that prison would at least feed you and give you liquids that you deny her, he said. Candelera also has an older daughter. It's unclear where she was at the time of her mother's vacation in June. Her attorney Derek Smith did not immediately respond to a request comment at her sentencing. He said Candelera had suffered from depression and mental illness issues, although she was ruled fit to stand trial. There's no justification for her actions. Smith said calling it absolutely the worst parenting imaginable. He insum- he ins- he insinuated that treatment she received for mental and physical problems before June had been insufficient. Candelario addressed the judge and the court Monday, saying that Jalen's death has caused her so much pain and that she hopes her parents and daughter will forgive her. I'm not trying to justify my actions, but nobody knew how much I was suffering, what I was going through, she said, through a Spanish interpreter. So here is the news video. Pull it up.
And we're starting with a really hard story tonight as we hear from a mother who went on vacation, leaving her 1-year-old daughter at home in a playpen to starve to death. An emotional day in court here that ended with a judge sentencing Crystal Candelario to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
That judge calling her actions the ultimate act of betrayal. Matt Rascone has more from inside the courtroom.
We're here on a very tragic case.
Prosecutors, the judge, and investigators described it as one of the most horrific cases.
She is taking a suitcase and now leaving Cuyahoga County.
Then 31-year-old Crystal Candelario vacationing in Puerto Rico.
She was a mother. She got a title that means something in this world.
While her 16-month-old daughter, Jaylene, was trapped in a pack and play with her feces for 10 days, starving to death.
This baby loved her mother.
She needed her mother, and her mother betrayed her.
When Candelario finally returned home, she called 911 in a panic.
She didn't want this to happen. You could hear that.
Her attorney says she was dealing with depression and anxiety without treatment. Through an interpreter, Candelario said she's asked for forgiveness.
I'm not trying to justify my actions.
Pero nadie sabe cuánto yo estaba sufriendo.
But nobody knew how much I was suffering.
Dios y mi hija me han perdonado.
God and my daughter have forgiven me.
Prosecutors said after finding her, Candelario changed her daughter's clothes and lied to police to hide her crime, then continued to talk about her fun vacation while in jail.
You committed the ultimate act of betrayal.
Judge Brendan Sheehan described the bond between mother and child as the most pure and sacred, and then handed down the maximum sentence.
You should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you.
Just a disturbing story. All of the investigators impacted by this case were inside the courtroom. For Jaylene, Candelario's parents also spoke in court, lamenting the death of their granddaughter while also standing by their daughter. Candelario is also mom to a 7-year-old daughter. It's unclear where she was while Candelario was on vacation. Christy?
It is one of the saddest things.
Yeah.
All right. So, closing thoughts. Not only does mother have a toddler daughter, but she has a 7-year-old daughter. One. Two, you went on a vacation to Puerto Rico and Detroit. So Detroit and Puerto Rico. And left a toddler home alone. To do what, ma'am, in the career? To supposedly fend for herself? I mean, I don't understand the logic. And then we're bringing up mental illness. Like that's going to justify her actions. Well, you're minimizing her actions when we bring up mental illness because she knew right and wrong as a mother. She knew what she did was wrong as a mother, and we gotta hold people like that accountable, not sugarcoat it. And this should wake parents up all around the world, mothers and fathers. If you think for 1 second that leaving a child home alone gonna get you bunny points, it's not. It's a crime. It's a felony. Um, and it's punishable up to life in prison if that child dies. So you gotta understand something. You putting your children in the worst position, leaving your child there alone. There was neighbors who said that you could have taken your child to them and they could have brought your child to you that bad. Yet you were so selfish and left your child in the crib. So um, she got life in prison, without parole. And I think it fit the crime because again, your child suffered 10 days without you. 10 days without you. And you gotta ask yourself this too. How many times CPS was notified to that house? Because I'm pretty sure there's probably a caseload of CPS calls. This probably ain't the first time she left this child alone and went on vacation or you know, did what she wanted to do. But children are not pawns and toys for children. And when things happen like this to children, it becomes a crime. And people gotta know that it's against the law to leave children alone. And this mother gonna have to sit behind bars for the rest of her life and think about her actions. And to me, and this is how I feel. The person who drove and picked her up to take her on vacation or allowed her to meet them or go with them on vacation also needs to be charged because this woman had a child and you know what I'm saying, y'all could have, you know what I'm saying, did something to prevent this woman from going with y'all on vacation or with you on vacation. But she looked like she went on vacation um, with a friend, with friends, and it's sad because women will tell you how saints they are and how they this, how they that. 99% of stories you talk about on this platform has to do with mothers allowing their boyfriends or mothers leaving children alone and their children dying or mothers killing their children. So, in my opinion, there's women out here who are just as worse as men. And we got to hold these people accountable. So, justice to this baby and may justice be served and may Crystal Kent Delario right in here. Let's move on. More Action News 5. Again, Action News 5. Tennessee is going to take an L. Tennessee. Woman is arrested after after social media post of 5-year-old daughter waxing older women. Police say, and y'all might have heard about this story. I don't know if I talked about this story when it first broke. But if I didn't, there's been an update to it. That's what I was waiting for. So this happened out of Memphis, Tennessee. So Memphis, Tennessee is going to take an L. A woman is charged after posting a photo to social media showing her 5-year-old daughter waxing older women, according to the Memphis Police Department. Jasmine Moss is charged with child neglect and will appear in court Wednesday. Although two cars were in Moss' driveway Tuesday afternoon, no one came to the door to talk. Action News 5 spoke with Melanie Salisbury, the owner of the Memphis Skin Academy in Burlette, for her input as a licensed esthetician. Myself being a mother, I probably would not have my child as young as 5 doing a service such as that, said Salisbury. On Wednesday, February 15th, officers received a series of complaints regarding social media posts showing disturbing images involving a young girl. The reported images were uploaded to Maul's Instagram account, which is used to promote her hair removal service. Police said there are 3 images posted by Maul show the young girl applying hot wax to the nude pubic area of adults. In Tennessee, you have to be at least 16 years old to actually get hours to obtain a license to become an esthetician, said Salisbury. To become a licensed esthetician in the state of Tennessee, you must complete 750 hours of training and pass written and physical examinations. Moss identified the young child as her daughter in the Instagram post, which also boasted that the child works 24 clients for more than 8 hours, according to affidavit. Salisbury said waxing is too dangerous for a child. Even as an adult professional, you can get burned, said Salisbury. Allegedly, Moss also operated her business out of her home. Salisbury said, though it's not illegal to have an esthetician business in your home, there are laws and regulations. As long as the inspector at the Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology to come to inspect the premises and other things surrounding your local code enforcement, said Salisbury. For the safety of the public, always tell my students to work in a professional setting. Now here's the news video. Jasmine Moss, man, I believe that. Jasmine. Here we go. Now, some of the things we can't show on this platform, but I'm gonna show
His
you this
mother,
video.
Jasmine Moss, reportedly ran her hair removal business from this home in Westwood, according to police. Although two cars were in the driveway, no one came to the door to talk to me about the recent social media post that sparked a Memphis police investigation. I did speak with Melanie Salisbury, the owner of the Memphis Skin Academy in Barton.
Myself being a mother, I probably would not have my child as young as 5 doing services such as that.
Moss's social media post showing a 5-year-old girl waxing a nude adult went viral last week. The Memphis Police Department says the images were uploaded to Moss's Instagram account to promote her hair removal service.
In Tennessee, you have to be at least 16 years or older to actually get hours to obtain a license for becoming an esthetician.
Police documents say the post claimed her daughter waxed 24 clients for more than 8 hours. Salisbury says waxing is too dangerous for a child.
Even as an adult experienced professional, you can get burns.
To become a licensed esthetician in the state of Tennessee, you must complete 750 hours of training and pass written and physical exams. Salisbury says although it is not illegal to have an esthetician business in your home, there are laws and regulations.
Long as it's inspected by our Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology, they come through and inspect the premises and other things that may surround it with your local code enforcement and things of that sort. For the safety of the public, I always advise my students to work in a professional setting.
A Memphis mother appears in court a day after an arrest tied to a disturbing social media post we told you about last week. WRAG's Jessica Knox spoke with the woman's lawyer and has details.
Jasmine Moss was in court today dressed in all pink for her first appearance. We had the opportunity to speak to her lawyer, Blake Ballin, who says this is a unique case.
Many of you have seen her mugshot on social media. Now she appears in court on the charges of child abuse and neglect after a photo of her 5-year-old daughter allegedly waxing an adult client went viral.
I have not seen the actual posts. I would assume they've been taken down. It's something the state will have to turn over to us. So we'll look at that and see if what they can prove meets the definition of the law they've charged her with. And I think that's the big question here.
Blake Ballin says the next step is to prove to the court that she is a mother who was trying to do the right thing.
We will do our investigations, factual investigation I need to do, some legal research I need to do. This is sort of an unusual way to charge this. It's child abuse or neglect, which generally requires some definite harm to a child, usually requires injury, something like that. So we've got our work cut out for us, and we're looking forward to defending her.
Ballin tells us after making several headlines, Moss's state of mind is normal for anyone whose liberty is in jeopardy. We asked about the whereabouts of the 5-year-old daughter.
That's something I can comment on at this time.
I pulled Moss aside to speak with her to get her side of the story. She tells WREG she is not ready to speak at this time. Jessica Knox, WREG News, Channel 3. And Moss is expected back in court in a month. Spectrum News.
All right. My thoughts on this particular story. I got 2 questions. One, both of the charges should be charged with misdemeanors. A, in my opinion, I think they should be felonies. And B, in my opinion, ain't this considered child P? Because when you expose a child to nudity, that's what it's called in most states. And I don't understand how this is not a felony. But if roles were reversed and just a man was involved, a black man was involved, and he taught his young daughter the same things on women, that he would have been hit with a felony. So I don't understand why it's okay for women to commit the same type of crime that men, like, I don't understand how women can commit the same exact crime that a man could commit and still get the easy way out. And you have 50-50. Yeah, some people are saying that she shouldn't be arrested. You have others saying she should be arrested. Um, and I believe she, what I'm saying, needs this should be felonies. And also her business should be shut down because of this. Shut down. So I'm hoping that it is shut down. But again, I think this should be a learning experience for people who run this type of business. It's against the law to have any child that young to be working either with you or next to you. And for those 24 women who thought it was great to lay down there and let that child do that, I agree with the comments been saying these 24 women should also be charged because that was actually considered child pay. It could trump child endangerment or child A. You just never. I mean, you know, first of all, why would you allow a child to do that type of service on you? You know what I'm saying? No, that that's a child with no experience, no license, no nothing, and you're just allowing a child to do that type of work on you. And women would do anything for attention, and it's I think it's quite sad because they're the first people to tell man where he is and where he isn't. But who could we get it from? You know what I'm saying? Uneducated women who, you know what I'm saying, think they know it all. But again, this mother should be hit with more than two misdemeanors, in my opinion. And those 24 women also should be hit with the exact same charges, and they need to bump that to a felony and pick up those 24 other women and charge them too, because it's not okay. And for anybody to later and let a child again do that type of service on them is just sick. And you have to ask yourself, how, what is mentally wrong with these individuals who allow this child to do this type of work. So we help this child get the help that she needs. This mother definitely needs not to run another execution business. And those 24 individuals who lay there and let this happen to them needs to just go to jail. Let's just be honest. And yeah, so we're gonna move on, and let's see. Massachusetts is coming up next. Massachusetts. Some on Boston here find news. Massachusetts is going to take an L. Um, six, six Massachusetts eighth graders are charged for setting up mock slave auction on Snapchat. I would like to say about this particular story. Southwick, Massachusetts is going to take an L. Six eighth graders have been criminally charged for their alleged roles in using Snapchat to set up a mock slave auction and indirect, hateful, and racist comments towards black students, the district attorney said Thursday. The students whose names were not released because they were juveniles are reportedly 13 and 14 years old. All six individuals were charged with threats to commit a crime. Hampton District Attorney Anthony Bloom said two of the juveniles were also charged with interference with civil rights, and one of those juveniles was also facing an additional charge of witness interference. State police detectives assigned to his office began investigating last month after learning of the allegations. Galeni said the middle school students were charged for their alleged roles in facilitating and participating in hateful racist online chat that included heinous language, threats, and a mock slave auction. Gulani said. Late in the evening of February 8th and into the early morning of February 9th, multiple journalists took part in a group chat on Snapchat that was created by 8th grade students in Southwick, Golani said. An investigation found that several students uttered hateful and racist comments, including notions of violence to people of color, racial slurs, derogatory pictures, and videos in a mock slave auction directed at two juveniles known to them, Golani said. The group chat and subjective matter were reported to the school officials on February 9th. On Monday, February 12th, school officials suspended several students from school as an emergency removal per state law, Golani said. On February 15th and February 16th, several students were formally suspended by the Southwick public school system. He said two of those students were suspended for 25 days and another student for 45 days. The district attorney said he aims to hold the teens accountable for their actions. Hatred and racism have no place in this community, and where there is behavior becomes criminal. I'm sure that we act with swift resolve as we did here to uncover it and bring it to the light of justice, Gulani said. He called their alleged actions vile. There is no question that he alleged behavior in the case of the six juveniles is vile, cruel, and contemptible, Gulani said, seeing it and facing the reality that these thoughts that this ugliness can exist within middle school students here in this community in 2024. He is discouraging, unsettling, and deeply frustrating. In a letter to Gulani Allison Lopez, the mother of one of the alleged victims commended the district attorney for a diligent investigation that resulted in the charges against the 16s. Your dedication to upholding justice in our community is commendable and provides a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness of this traumatic incident, Lopez wrote in his letter. In her letter, I'm sorry. As we grapple with the profound negative effects of these events, it becomes increasingly clear that there are no isolated incidents, but symptomatic of deeper issues within our society. Lopez wrote, in particular, I felt compelled to express my continual dissatisfaction with the Southwick, Tolan, Granville school district's response to issues of racism. It is evident that they have failed miserably in their past to adequately address and confront these issues, allowing them to fester and culminate in the abhorrent behavior we have witnessed. Southwick is a small town in western Massachusetts, southwest of Springfield. The town's population was 9,232 at the 2020 census. So here's a news video.
not often that a DA will call a news conference to announce charges against some juveniles, but in this case, the DA sent a message.
For kids who are experiencing bullying, it spreads like wildfire. It's constant and can be extraordinarily damaging.
Hampden County DA Anthony Gallooni wasted no time going after the 6 juveniles, charged with online bullying and hate speech, targeting 2 fellow students in an online mock slave auction, including the daughter of Allison Lopez.
If they have this level of hate in them now, at this tender age of 13 and 14, it worries me.
The online bullying took place after midnight on a school night last month, leaving prosecutors asking, do parents of these middle schoolers really know what their kids are doing online?
Kids of this age had essentially unfettered access to social media, their phones, their computers, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning on a weeknight, no less.
Bullying kids in school has gone on for generations, but parents in Southwick we spoke with say social media has changed the game.
Today, it's just gone way too far. I think social media is probably the biggest part of it too.
And that's a big part of this case.
Because people can hide behind social media. They can, you're not confronting somebody one-on-one.
Late today, Springfield's religious leaders weighed in on what's happening in Southwick schools.
So as long as these attitudes continue to get passed down from generation to generation, we just continue with the same old cycle of racial bias that has existed in America since its inception.
Even the DA couldn't tell us what these kids will face in juvenile court since the results are never made public. Which is made public is that these kids will face long suspensions from inside Southwick schools. Live in Southwick, I'm Ted Wayman, WCVB, News Center 5.
A big update in this investigation out of Norwood. A 12-year-old middle school student has been arrested after confessing to the mass shooting threat, which really shook the town on Friday. Despite efforts to conceal the origin of those text messages, which named certain students and mentioned the middle and high schools, investigators were able to trace enough information that they believed they knew the sender. Friday morning, detectives called that student who was out of state with family. Today, police executed a search warrant of their home and took a cell phone. There were no guns in that home, and that 12-year-old will not be in school on Monday.
All right, my closing thoughts about this particular story. Number one, what are these middle school students doing on Snapchat unsupervised? Anyways, we're dealing with middle school age students who are 12 and 13 unsupervised on these platforms. And God knows how long the platform this page was created. And bullying particularly start on social media, and it progresses, and then it ends up in schools, and it ends up on a playground outside of school, and end up in stores around the world, and end up everywhere after that. So there needs to be, a serious talk with our children and students in these schools, because online bullying is never okay. Threatening, making racial jokes. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's taking notes. The FBI can be watching. Police can be watching. SWAT can be watching. Anybody can be watching. The DA, the judge, taking notes, ready to prosecute you. So think about that. You live on Snapchat making horrendous threats and racial jokes, and you don't know who's taking notes. You don't know who's watching, and I blame the parents, because six middle school students who clearly is unsupervised at home on social media. It is dangerous. It is very dangerous. And what the parents at when these children are on this platform on a day-to-day basis, unsupervised. You know what I'm saying? You got to start charging parents now with you know neglect, because I think that they're why you're not supervising your children on social media, well, you're not reading what they're posting, well, you're not supervising what they write, and it's dangerous. But 6 middle school students arrested, arrested. Think about that. When they get to high school, um, applying for a job after their senior year of high school, it's gonna be hard for them to get a job because they have a juvenile record, and you know it's felony on a juvenile record. It's gonna be hard because of bad decisions, and you know be careful what you put out there because it could come back and hunt you in the long run. What you put out there, it's gonna come back. But we gotta hold parents accountable. Children shouldn't be uh, on social media uh, making threats, making jokes, and so we gotta hold people accountable. Just pray for these children. Pray for everyone involved in this, and you know you gotta do better. Parents, you gotta do better when it comes to your children. Monitor your children. Um, the children shouldn't be monitoring themselves. Monitor your children. Okay, and 6-year-old girl falls into the Delaware County Creek. Now I'm going to show you the video first, and then I'm going to read the article. Because I want to show you how this opening looks. Let's see. Delaware.
The search for a missing 6-year-old girl who was swept away into a creek in Delaware County has now turned into a recovery mission. Sunday night, I'm Walter Perez. The big story in Action News is the recovery effort now underway for a little girl who went missing, swept into a creek in Chester yesterday. Dozens of rescuers are on that mission today. Action News reporter Brianna Smith joins us live from Chester with the very latest. Brianna.
Walter, it's a sad day for the family and this community. It's been almost 24 hours since that 6-year-old girl went missing. Now, search crews have been meeting in this parking lot across from the creek. I can see behind me to go over their findings. The Chester Fire Commissioner says that they've used various resources, drones, boats, and helicopters in hopes of finding her. This is who they're searching for, 6-year-old Lanesia Brooker. The fire commissioner says she was playing near the Chester Creek off of 8th Street with 2 other young girls on Saturday evening. He says
I got news article for them. I'm going to read it when I finish the video. I'm on ABC 11. I'm going to give Delaware unfortunately the biggest here because this story is just crazy. Search for 6-year-old girl who fell into Pennsylvania Creek is now considered a recovery, not rescue. Chester, Pennsylvania, to be exact, second area. So a recovery operation continues Monday in the search for a young girl who was swept away in a rain-swollen southeastern Pennsylvania Creek over the weekend. Crews returned to the water Monday morning in hopes of finding 6-year-old Lanesia Booker as the community faces the reality that the rescue has now shifted to recovery. Authorities in Chester County said Brooker was reported missing at about 7 p.m. Saturday after she slipped and fell into the fast-moving Chester Creek near 8th Street. Several fire companies took part in the search for for the next 3.5 hours, while the Coast Guard continued searching through Saturday night. The Chester Fire Commissioner says 3 hours was the longest someone could survive in the cold, fast-moving water. Boats with thermal imaging were also used to scan the water while crews searched through nearby trees and debris. There's a lot of debris in the water, which poses a potential hazard to our responders, but they've been trained to deal with those situations, said Chester Fire Commissioner John Paul Shirley. We have light towers set up, also flying some drones that have interfered in thermal imaging technology. As of Sunday afternoon, authorities said this has no longer a search and rescue effort, but a recovery effort. Boats and drones also used Sunday in both directions on the creek and on both sides of Delaware River where the creek flows into it. Booker's grandmother says they held out hope for as long as they could and are now focusing on remembering the 6-year-old. My emotions are all unhinged. I haven't had sleep. I can't eat. The only thing I'm thinking about is finding her, said Brooker's grandmother, Kimberly Richardson. The fire commissioner told Action News that Brooker went missing while she was playing with two others. Authorities said 3 girls were playing near the creek when two fell in. One managed to get out of the water while Brooker was swept away, according to investigators. She went down a little too far with the other kids, and my 7-year-old daughter tried to hold her, and she was holding onto my daughter's coat, and I guess the wind took her, said Taisha Reynolds, Brooker's aunt. After the girl went under, Reynolds said it was all hands on deck from the family. My nephew, he's 19, he jumped in the water. My 2-year-old nephew jumped into the water, she said. We were all trying to hope for the best, but we're still hoping for the best. It's really hard to say anything other than they are playing, that we are praying, we are hoping, and we appreciate the prayers and support that I understand is coming from all over the country right now, said Chester Mayor Stefan Roots. The family said they are also mourning Brooker's sister. The family said they are also mourning Brooker's sister, who passed away on this exact day 5 years ago. Richardson said Brooker was a gift to be around. She loved to dance, she was one of a kind, and she will truly be missed in my heart, she said. Shirley said authorities will search the creek one final time Monday morning. This time they'll work with the Pennsylvania State Police and use sonar technology. Heavy rain soaked the Pennsylvania region on Saturday. Parts of Delaware and Montgomery counties saw flooding as a result of the hours long downpour. Some areas even temporarily closed off roadways due to flooding. Anyone with information on this incident is urged to contact the police immediately. Now, the reason why I said I give this story a big L is because on one of the news video, there's a park. There's a big opening in the fence that leads to the creek where children get right through and can easily slip down and fall into the water. And my thing is this: knowing that that fence is like that, they should first of all they should put up a much safer fence that nobody could go over. Number one, and number two, where is the adults to supervise these children that are left alone in this park? Um, Knowing that the condition that the fence is in that can lead down to the creek. So, unfortunately, these children was unsupervised that day. And had adults been supervising these children, this child would have fallen in the water and drowned. And, we gotta hold people accountable, you know. And it's sad because the same day this happened, they was mourning the loss of another sister. And, you know, it sucks, but this should be a learning tool for parents. If you live by a creek or a body of water and you have young children, you have to be paying close attention to your children because children do wander off. children do get into things, they like to go by things that are dangerous. So you gotta have 20/20 eyesight, vision, and watch your children. But you know, a lot of things are wrong here, and um, that fence gonna have to get fixed one way or another, so those children don't go past there and fall back into that water. I hope they fix that fence, put something up, but those children can't get through there. Once they're done doing the recovery efforts, because that is very, very dangerous. Um, and yeah, continue to have the family thoughts and prayers. And we're gonna move on. We have 22-year-old Chicago man who was arrested for killing four people and injuring seven. So he killed a 15-year-old girl. He killed a mailman and two other, a mother and her son, and injured seven others. And he's 22 years old. Um, with all types of issues. I'm pretty sure they're gonna say he had mental illness, but knowing what he knew better. And people like that, it just shouldn't be on the streets. They're dangerous, and the fact that he was willing, the fact that he killed four innocent people tells me that this person is dangerous. I'm glad he was taken off the streets. I'm glad he was locked up and thrown away the key. He was charged with multiple first-degree murder charges and attempted murder charges. Other charges are expected to come later. An Indiana pastor is arrested for doing the unthinkable with his foster child. Um, sick. We trust people with our children, and yet you have a pastor taking advantage of his foster child in the worst way ever. And he only took this child in to not to use the child for the benefits that he can get from this child, and then do what he wants to do to this child. It's just very, very sick. And foster and these foster families needs to be a high demand and background, like, because criminal background and history, and because you just don't know people until it's too late. You really don't know people's true colors. It's sick. Um, Father was charged. CPS worker is fired in the murder case of 9-year-old Kinsley Evans. So what we're gonna do is it is 12:09 a.m. Um, Monday we're going to finish up with these last bit of stories. Because it's quite late, so I will see you guys on Monday. For story. We want to talk about even though we talked about the sexual assault in the Delaware County Creek, we're gonna do a full dialogue on the story. I'm gonna show you on Monday the park, the open gap of the park. So story 9 out of 13. So we see you guys on Monday. Peace.